I'm so upset. I just learned a devastating secret about my brother. The same brother I sent away to college, paid for everything, and this is how he repays me? I, 34 male, lived with my mom and younger brother, Jeremy, for almost 30 years. My father, well, he was in and out of the picture until one day he was just gone. My mom was shattered, and automatically I became the man of the house at about 15. I had a part-time job and did odd jobs for my neighbors after school to assist my mom with providing for family and paying the bills. My life growing up is not a happy one, so I'll skip those details. I managed to save up enough money to get myself through community college, and that's when I discovered I had a passion for arts and design. For years, I used my economics degree to get a mediocre job in marketing while developing my skills as a graphics designer. Now, I work in a pretty good company, occasionally freelancing as well, and I make more than enough money, which I'm happy about because now I can support my family without thinking twice about it. Mom is not as young as she used to be, and I've told her to stop working. The plan was put Jeremy through college so he would make something of himself as well. My brother Jeremy, he had it easy. He didn't have too much because he was younger than me and could not have worked even if he wanted to, and when he was old enough, I was already a working-class citizen. All he had to do was ask either me or Mom for money, and that was it. At some point, I was pretty envious of him. Jeremy did not get to face the hardship my mom and I did after father left. Things finally started to look up when he came of age. He got to experience the fun part of life with his partying and his little girlfriends in high school. At his age, I was thinking of how I would both ace my exam and work extra hours to earn more money for my family. But despite Jeremy's attitude, I had seen how good he was at math when he was younger. He was undoubtedly smart and just needed to get his priorities straight. After a sit-down post-high school graduation, Jeremy had agreed to go to college to pursue an accounting degree. My mom was ecstatic. She later told me that she never would have believed Jeremy was even interested in college. I made sure to send money for whatever it was Jeremy asked for while there. It was a bit more than I was used to taking care of, but I ignored how stressful it was and pushed away the taunts of my friends. A good friend of mine told me to at least try to get a girlfriend, but very few women would tolerate me or give a lot of attention to my family. Once Jeremy was done with college, I usually told myself then I'll look for a girlfriend. Now, I'm wondering why I did not listen to my friends back then. I might have been happier and would probably have had a potential life partner and somebody who would support me for a change. But I've chosen to fight for my brother, who told me just yesterday that he's dropped out of college in his second year. How wasn't I notified? Did my mom know as well? Jeremy managed to deceive his family for 2 whole years. Then, because of some transactions going wrong, he visited me to ask for help. I was pretty surprised to see Jeremy with his bags. Well, because I expected him to be finished with school in just a few months' time. And when he told me that he had dropped out years ago, I felt someone had poured a bucket of ice-cold water all over my body. I invited him in, and half listened to my brother explain himself and ask for my help with getting a job. He slept in the second room in my 2-bedroom apartment, and I laid awake, still processing everything that had happened that evening. By morning, I was not confused anymore. Instead, I was so angry I got tempted to kick Jeremy out immediately, but I decided to go and see my mom first. Jeremy would definitely go to my mom's if I told him to leave. I knew for a fact that she would not be able to handle the news, not the way Jeremy told me. So, I left before Jeremy woke up. That fool was still sleeping at 9 a.m., early bird gets the worm, and went to visit my mom. She was pretty surprised to see me. As she'd listened to me speak, I could see the sadness and worry in her eyes. I was right. Jeremy had not told her a word, but she had handled it better than I thought she would, and Mom asked me if I had any plans regarding my brother. I blatantly told her that I wanted to kick him out of my house, but my mom pleaded with me, and after a while, I decided to do as she said. My brother was going to live with me for some time, and then we'd figure out what to do about him. It's not something I'm looking forward to, but I'll try my best to suppress my anger. I don't know if I can get him a job at a store or something. Maybe I'll look at some job listings anyways. I'll update ya." Update number 1. Well, I managed to get Jeremy a job. It was not an easy feat, considering the type of jobs he wanted, but when I got home after seeing my mom and going to work, Jeremy was as laid back as anyone could be. I wondered if he was remotely bothered by his predicament, but he was shocked by me telling him he wanted a job for the second time. When I talked about going to stores and asking for open positions, he gets upset. Told me to try finding a way for him to work with me at my company. I almost laughed in the kid's face. Come on, you gotta be joking. Here I was, still reeling from his irritation I got from knowing my brother had wasted my money for 4 years, and he wanted to irritate me further. But by some divine source of patience, I managed to tell him I'd think about it. I should feel like a terrible brother saying this, but I don't. After doing a bit of digging, I discovered that there were a few openings in the company I worked at, and the ones available were jobs Jeremy would never be able to handle. He was annoyed by the news and told me that I did not want to help him out. Well, he wasn't entirely wrong, but I had to try my best. We ended up arguing that evening, and once again I had the urge to kick him out. Was that entitlement on his part, or just plain insanity? Did he not remember what I had done for him and the fact that he was literally living under my roof? At that point, I wish I had not gone to see my mom. I would not have to dealt with the insult I got from my brother. 3 days ago, I noticed that Jeremy had constantly been on his laptop. It was different from the one that I got him 2 years ago, a cheaper model, but it was better than nothing, and he told me that he's been searching for freelance jobs. And for the first time since I saw him at my door, I was moved to help him. Maybe I'd been too harsh on my brother. I'm not sure why he had dropped out of school, and I did not bother listening to the parts where he mentioned using his fees for a risky investment. But maybe he was repentant. I made a promise to myself to get him a job or at least help with his job search. I never knew how hard it was to look for a stable source of income. I'd started as a freelancer myself, and a client I worked with had recommended me behind my back. After a few exchanges of emails and an interview, the job was mine. I was almost 27 then, now I'm the head of the marketing firm, but after dialing what seemed like a sea of contacts, it ended up with being in vain. Apparently, nobody wanted to hire somebody who was as young as my brother, a college dropout nonetheless, with no experience, or whatever excuse I was given before the phone ended. I got angry again. None of this would have happened if he had just finished college like he was supposed to. Yesterday, I sat Jeremy down and explained the situation to him. Once again, he gets mad at me. What exactly did he expect me to do? Force people to give him a job? He asked if I'd talk about how intelligent he was and how easy it was for him to pick up things, and I told him that alone was not going to land him a good job. Jeremy stormed out and locked himself in his room, and I tried getting him to talk to me so that we could find a solution together, but he told me, and I quote, "Go to hell." My mom called after the incident with Jeremy, and I told her everything. She promised that she would have a word with my brother, and I asked her if he could stay with her just for a bit, or if I could give him the money for a hotel. Either one was fine with me as long as I didn't have to deal with his insolence anymore. I hated hearing my mom plead on behalf of my undeserving brother, but before I agreed to let Jeremy stay, I told her that he was one strike away from being on the streets. I would not care about anything she had to say if Jeremy even walked out on me. If he was spoiled and lived his life taking everything for granted, that was going to change as long as I was here. To my surprise, Jeremy seemed like a different person in the morning. He apologized for his behavior and even told me he was sorry that things had not worked out in college. He told me he saw a few vacancies when he stepped out the day before and was going to check up on them. It took a few moments for me to comprehend that my stubborn brother was indeed telling me all that, but I wished him good luck before I went to work. Lord knows my mom what she must have told him. I didn't know that was, all it took for Jeremy to act like a decent person, or I would have told my mother to call him a long time ago. A friend of mine called me when I was at work. He told me he had a position for Jeremy. Yes, the pay was low, and he would have a lot of catching up to do, but the firm he worked for was willing to employ an apprentice. I told Jeremy when I got home, and he was pleased. Another shocker. He's set to begin next week, and while I don't know what's next in my brother's life, I guess this is a start, and it's better than none at all. Update number 2. Guys, I don't know my brother as much as I should. When I was younger, I was so focused on helping my mom that I did not realize the kind of person Jeremy really was. All I could see was good grades with the promise of a bright future if he kept on putting his brain to good use. I also knew he loved to enjoy himself as much as he could, with all the parties and fun he was a part of. What I didn't know was that Jeremy was no longer the brilliant person I thought he was. At least I could not see it anymore. Jeremy got fired from the job I managed to get him in less than a month, something that I never heard in all of my life, and then, if that was not enough, my little brother just had to add fuel to the fire by getting fired from a nearby store in less than a week. I'm still finding it hard to believe, and I wondered how one person can be so careless and still act like being a nuisance is no big deal at all. At first, I started getting complaints from my friend Tim, the guy who informed me that Jeremy could work at his accounting firm. Apparently, Jeremy was never, ever punctual. I never could tell because I dropped some money for him to take an Uber to work and head to work myself, but after hearing the complaints given to me, I made it a point of duty to take Jeremy to work myself. It was burdensome, definitely, because I had to risk getting late myself. Our routes were almost completely different, and the traffic at the beginning of the week was hellish. Then I made sure to call him a taxi and watch him go to work before heading out. That plan was better for the both of us, and I thought I had tackled that particular situational problem. Some weeks later, Jeremy informed me that he had gotten fired from his job, and when I asked why, he told me that Tim was a jerk before leaving my apartment to get some air. I don't know, that was his words. When I called Tim and heard his side of the story, I tossed my plan to coerce him out the window. Jeremy had been rude to his seniors whenever they tried correcting him after a mistake. He almost got a physical altercation with one of them who tried to retaliate. Finally, when Tim tried talking to him to get him to work on his attitude problem, he stormed off after telling Tim to report his behavior to me, since that's something he was good at. After apologizing and ending the phone call, I went into Jeremy's room to pack his crap, wanting him, just to leave, so I waited for him to return to my apartment. Nothing was going to save my brother this time. I had told my mother that I would kick him out if he messed up just one more time, and this particular mistake was way too big to overlook. I found some cash in Jeremy's closet, and I did not get to see all of it, but it was enough to stop me from packing up his things for a moment. There had to be at least $4,000 there. What exactly was Jeremy doing with that amount of money when he had no job? My mind went to drugs or other stuff, and when I got tired of guessing, I waited for Jeremy to return. Well, he didn't return that night, but I get a call from the hospital the next morning. My mom's blood pressure was through the roof, and Jeremy had taken her to the hospital. Was that why he did not return the night before? I eventually found out that Jeremy had an argument with my mom. In summary, he had gone to, her, to ask her to talk to me or let him move in with her, and they began to argue. That's when it all happened. I feel that there's more to the story, however, the only other person I could ask was being hospitalized. I got to speak to my mom eventually, and she told me to take care of Jeremy till she left the hospital. Well, after the incident with my mom, I had temporarily forgotten about the money I found in my brother's room. I remembered the next day and waited for my absent brother to return. He was all smiles and told me he was working at a nearby store as a cashier. But when I asked about the money I found, his mood soured. He told me it was a few savings he had. I didn't believe him. And when I continued probing, he spilled that he borrowed some money from a friend of his because he had plans to pay me all the money I'd spent on him while in college. He said that he wanted a good job, so he would use part of his pay to refund me, and told me that was how he had lost a lot of money in an investment, which turned out to be a scam. I told him that he should have kept on working at the accounting firm, but he told me that the pay was crap, which was why he started to misbehave. He promised to do better at his new job, and for some reason I believed him. Maybe it's because we had a little heart-to-heart, and I now got to know the major reason behind his irrational behavior. After a week, Jeremy went ahead to tell me that he had been fired. Yeah, again. Turns out his employer was too strict and did not trust him so much. I didn't even know what to say to Jeremy. I just forced myself to remain calm and remember what I had promised my mother. Well, after that, I managed to walk past him without saying a word. Now, I'm beginning to really be suspicious of Jeremy. Why? He said he was looking for a job to pay me back the money, right? But he had not even made a move to give me the little that he had in his closet. That's a red flag. Worse still, a few items were still missing of mine. There's a quite inexpensive watch I've gotten 2 years ago, and a few of my gold cufflinks as well. I had a bad habit of rewarding myself with expensive things whenever I reached more than I planned to during a given time frame. Did Jeremy steal my stuff? I really don't know how to go about this, because if my brother were being honest, then I would be accusing him, well, after we managed to see eye to eye for once. Then I did not exactly have any proof. But if I was right, do I ignore my mom and kick him out of the house? This is so beyond confusing to me. Update number 3. Jeremy is not living with me anymore. And my mom is not in the hospital either. I took her to my apartment today. The doctor said to keep a close eye on her, and she told me she wanted to stay with me before I even suggested it. She's quite upset with me because of what happened with my brother, but I'm sure she'll come around at some point. I ended up not asking Jeremy if he had seen the things that had gone missing. It took a while for me to think of a solution to my confusion, and I concluded that keeping quiet was probably the best way to go about it. If Jeremy were innocent, then I would not cause any problems between us by asking questions. If he wasn't, he was most likely going to steal something else, and I would know for sure and deal with him for stealing from me. Jeremy had asked me to help him with a job again before he stole from me, again. This time I really did laugh in his face. I mean, was he kidding? I reminded him of Tim and his job at the store, telling him I was not going to get involved with job hunting for him ever again. He even suggested working for me, and after lasting out 6 reasons why hiring him would be a huge mistake, I told him try freelancing again, because I doubted he would be able to work in any nearby stores. I'd gotten a few weird looks after Jeremy had gotten fired from the convenience store. I still get them, and I could tell it was all because of Jeremy. I also told my brother that his time in my apartment was coming to an end. I could not keep feeding and taking care of a grown man, one who does not respect me at all. Call me heartless or inhumane, I really can't care less. 4 days ago, I gave Jeremy an ultimatum, to either get himself a job or leave my apartment within a week. I'd done my best by keeping up with the shame and constant disrespect and abuse from my brother for 4 months. I expected the insults that came with my statement too, and ignored them all. Jeremy was a pain in my butt. And since it did not seem like he was going to change for the better anytime soon, it was time to use force. He was a man after all. 3 days ago, I went to visit my mom. She wasn't conscious when I went to see her, but I told her everything because I needed somebody to talk to. Back then, I was a bit happy she could not hear what I had to say to her. It might have caused more harm than good, and I did not want to take that risk. When I got back, I found my apartment in terrible state. Some of my living room furniture and decor were broken. My bedroom was equally thrashed and all my jewelry was gone, along with a few suits and my checkbook. I had not hesitated to call the police. It was a clear case of vandalism, and I already knew who had did it, so why waste any time? Yesterday morning, I got a call back from the police. They had apprehended my brother after catching him pawning off my things. One of the officers asked if I wanted to bail Jeremy, and declined with a huge smile on my face. He had messed up and would definitely pay for what he did. I also severed all ties with him, promising to put him into jail again if I ever saw him after his release. Jeremy did plead with me, And for some time, I wondered if he needed to see a psychiatrist. I don't know much about mental illness, but my brother is definitely ill. He gets angry easily, and now that I think about it, seems to have two personalities. Well, that's not my problem. All that's left to do is to deal with my mom. I have not told her everything, only that Jeremy was arrested because he vandalized my apartment, and I told her I was not going to bail him out before she even asked. And she got upset. She has not smiled in over 5 hours. I understand why. She's a mother, after all. I plan to treat her to a nice dinner and get her flowers tomorrow. She loves flowers. Like I said earlier, she'll come around. So unfortunately, this story had to come to an end, with OP severing ties from the brother. Guys, I want to know your thoughts about this story because OP's brother was going to extreme lengths to just blow everything that was given to him. A college education, freedom from being a thief, got him sent to jail, and guys, I can only ask of one question. What would you have done if you were in OP's shoes and you find out that not once, not twice helping your brother, 3 times, and now he's done this to you, went behind your back and stole your things, only to catch him later on by the police trying to sell them? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. My name's Mr. Reddito, and I narrate stories like this every single day. Inheritance dramas, Karen in the Wild stories, Bridezillas, mother-in-law, in-law stories, you name it, we got it. Smash that subscribe button. I'll see you tomorrow, and just remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya!